Welcome to 10 Minute Takes. This is where we rate films first, then we discuss what we liked and didn't like about the film. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
What are we rating?
Blindspotting.
Okay. You didn't say that. We're doing 2 today.
Yeah, we're doing 2. So
okay.
This week is
Blindspotting
Blindspotting and Christopher Robin. So Blindspotting first.
Yes.
All right. 3, 2, 1. See it. For those that don't know, Blindspotting is an independent film. It was written by Rafael Casil and David Diggs. It was directed by Carlos Lopez Estrada. It is both of these guys' first screenplay. It is this director's directorial debut. So starting out, I think I'll just start with the things that I liked, because it's pretty much everything. I liked the script, the story, the acting, the dialogue, the cinematography, the editing, the music.
So everything.
Pretty much everything. I mean, this is pretty much just gonna be like a love fest for this film. I think this is probably the best film that I've seen this year.
We keep saying that. Like, I think at
Every
the end of
film,
the year, we need to like have another conversation and bring it back.
We need to have like a 10 best. We need to have like a list of the 10 best films.
All the ones that we said were the best, and if they're still the best, because
we've
said that a lot.
But this has surpassed all the other films. And this is like the independent films. I'm talking like the big franchises, the things like Avengers, the Marvel movies.
What other independent? Oh, okay, we've seen a few.
We've seen quite a bit.
We have.
So, I mean, this is up there with the best. This is actually one of the best films I think I've seen in a long time. I think it would be hard for another film coming out to actually top this for me. What did you think? What did you like about this movie?
I really enjoyed the story. The story was very interesting. He had 3 days left on his probation. He sees this horrific act, and then he does what he can to move forward. And it's an incredible story. The
trailer for this film makes it seem like it's a very super dramatic, sort of
very
racially focused film. Mm-hmm. And there is an aspect of where our main character, David Diggs plays Colin, and his best friend, who is Rafael Casil, but his best friend, played by him, is Miles. And Colin witnesses a police shooting, and before he has a chance to even react to anything in the police shooting, the police tell him that he needs to leave. He needs to evacuate the crime scene, and he leaves the crime scene. And that particular moment in the film just becomes sort of an undercurrent for the story. The next day, he shows up to Miles's house. He picks him up. They work together. He picks him up and goes, "Hey, man, I saw a cop shoot somebody last night." And Miles is like, "Really? That's crazy." And that's
kind of the end of it.
That's pretty much it. And then, like, that shooting is something that you see, like, on the TVs in the background. That's like the undercurrent to the actual story. And the actual story is Colin, who's played by David Diggs. He is on his last 3 days of his probation, which the film opens up on him going on probation.
Right.
So the film opens up with him getting out of prison, and then it flash forwards 11 months and 27 days later, 3 days left on his probation. And so on these last 3 days, he just tries to stay out of trouble. And the most dramatic thing that happens to him is that he sees that police shooting, but there's no real decisions to be made about the police shooting. He has no interest in actually coming forward and talking with anybody about what he saw. It's not even a plot thread that he even thinks about doing. He just wants to live.
It's always kind of there, though. Like, it's always kind of in the back. You can tell it's in the back of his mind. It haunts him.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah. It sort of creates this PTSD for him.
Yeah.
His character starts to sort of degrade over the course of the film. And I mean degrade as in, like, it starts to decay his mind a little bit.
Yeah.
He starts to become a little bit more paranoid. He doesn't want to be that guy that people look at. Just by the way he looks, they think he's just trouble, and he's not. And that's kind of the point of the film. He looks one way, but he's actually a different kind of person than what you might think he is based on his exterior.
I think that's like a whole nother conversation. We were talking about right after the movie what the movie title actually means. Mm-hmm. And we can talk about that a little bit later in the show. But it's really interesting to see how we walked away from the film with two different takeaways of what Blindspotting is. And it's just really interesting to see, because I'm sure multiple people had that. You take different things away. and it's interesting.
Now I want to talk about the what the film, I would say what it's actually about, as opposed to like what the trailers were trying to play it up as what it is. Whereas the trailers make it seem like it's a guy trying to stay out of trouble after he witnesses the police shooting. It seems like this police shooting creates this massive amount of drama in his life. But the film's actually very, very, very funny. I mean,
it's hilarious.
It's probably one of the funnier films I've seen in a long time, because his relationship with his best friends, Colin and Miles, is just like that relationship that a lot of people have with their best friend, or at least I know that I've had people that when I grew up with in my group of friends, there was like the one guy that was always like the troublemaker, and we still hung out with him. He was very endearing to be with, but it was always like you knew going out with this person, you would just get into trouble. He would say something stupid. There's just no way around it, but he was still a good friend of everybody's.
Yeah.
And that's Miles to Colin in this film. And Miles and Colin, they just go about, they do their job, and Miles is a loudmouth. Like there's a one instance where they're delivery men, and they're delivering a package, or they're moving someone out of their apartment, and there's someone that's parked in front of them, and Miles starts honking the horn, and he's yelling at him and cussing. And Colin's just like, dude, can you stop that? Like, Colin's trying to be the level-headed one. Just be like, man, I don't need this guy coming up and us getting into a fight. He's like, let's just wait for him to just leave, and then we'll go on. And then Miles is just honking on the horn like, get your ass out of our way. We have a delivery to make. And that's their relationship. And a lot of the humor comes out from that sort of relationship, that banter that they have.
Yeah. But it's humorous. It's very funny. But it's also like a growing period for Colin to realize that is what his friend is. He didn't really recognize that until after he's gone through all of these things, going to prison and going through probation. He doesn't realize what Miles is, and that's kind of what the film is about. And it's also about the growth that Miles has to learn and what he kind of sees in himself, and he starts to realize near the end of the movie, like, oh, maybe I do need to change.
Yeah. One of my favorite moments in the film was one that had me rolling on the floor. The whole theater just erupted. It was the one where it's pretty early on in the film. They go to Colin's mom's house, and his mom is moving some stuff around in the house. She's getting rid of some things, and Miles is like, she's like, oh, hey, what are you doing with these hair straighteners? And she got a whole box of hair straighteners. And she's like, oh, I'm getting rid of them. He goes, may I take these off your hands? Because I think I could sell these. She's like, what are you going to sell those for? And he's like, tells her, it's like, I think we can sell these to help the underprivileged in the projects. And she's like, okay, we'll do whatever you want with those. And then all of a sudden it just smash cuts to him in a salon. They go to their local salon, and the local salon owner, there's a cameo, and she's just in this one scene. It is Tisha Campbell-Martin. She played the wife in the sitcom in Martin. I haven't seen her since Martin. I'm sure she's done other stuff. But even just in this one scene, she's fantastic. She's really funny. She's like the boss woman. The whole
scene was great.
The whole scene is fantastic. Miles brings the hair straighteners to her salon, and he's like, he gets up on top of like her little table where it's got all the magazines. He starts clacking the hair straighteners. He's like, listen up, everybody. I got something that I want to sell you, and you want to hear this. And he has like this whole salesman
He's a really good salesman, actually.
Yeah.
Miles in the movie is a really good salesman.
And the woman's like, why did I want those? And he's like, I'll tell you why you want these. These are the best hair straighteners you'll ever going to have. She's like, I have good hair straighteners. These are better. Let me tell you why they're better. And then she's all of a sudden, she's like, how do I know that these work? And then we smash cut to Colin has dreadlocks in the film, and they're like little short dreadlocks, but also we smash cut to a close-up of Colin's face, and Colin all of a sudden has the prettiest, flowingest hair you've ever seen since Prince. The dude looks straight out of like a hair salon magazine. He looks like one of those models you see on the walls.
It is really funny.
And then all of a sudden, like, you don't need to see that scene play out. Just knowing that they smash cut to Miles with the straight hair, you know what they did. They don't, and then all of a sudden, Miles is, or at least they smash cut to Colin with the straight hair, and Miles is counting the money that they got from selling the hair straighteners, and he gives half to Colin. And Colin's like, what's this half for? He's like, hey man, this came from your mom, so you know you get a cut of that money. Yeah. And that shows the dynamic of their relationship with how close they are. Mm-hmm. They're borderline brothers. Mm-hmm. And the drama that unfolds much later in the film, because the drama really doesn't really happen until maybe, like, I want to say the last 20 minutes of the movie. There's sort of like a...
Right. It wraps around to what happened in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, and Miles and Colin have a little bit of a falling out. They have a big fight between them where they both need to learn and grow from the things that they've done in the past. That finally just like comes up and slaps both of them in the face.
Yeah.
And that's when they have that moment where Miles realizes he needs to become a better person. Colin realizes the kind of person he wants to be now that he's about to be coming off of probation. And it's these little turns that the film takes, these little moments between these two friends that really elevates it for me. And it's so well done. It's hard for me to fathom that this is a first-time filmmaker. I mean, it really feels like this is Spike Lee at his apex making his films. It very much reminded me of like Do the Right Thing, had a similar kind of energy to it. And if you're a fan of Spike Lee's older films, like Do the Right Thing, Jungle Fever, those kinds of things that Spike Lee was doing in the late 80s, early 90s, this is very much in that ballpark, where Spike Lee had a streak of humor along with having some sort of social commentary he wanted to inject into his films. The message is there. I don't feel like I was being hammered over the head with any particular message. And I was like, one of the things we're talking about, what does Blindspotting mean? We came away with like two different takeaways from Blindspotting. And I think that is a strength to
the movie.
To the movie and the filmmakers that made this.
That's what happens, like when you are able to do that to an audience where people come away with different views, it actually brings audience members to talk about it and to talk about it with each other, talk about it with other people who have seen it. And that's a big strength of, I think, any movie. If you can get an audience to walk away to talk about the movie, that is a good thing. And we spent the entire ride home talking about what Blindspotting meant to each one of us. And it was a very different view.
Yeah. So there's a moment in the film where he specifically asks someone about like, what does blindspotting mean? He's talking to somebody and someone says blindspotting. He's like, well, what does that actually mean? And the person gives him the definition of what blindspotting is. And then you can kind of see like he has like sort of like a revelation at that moment. And then the film kind of takes a little bit of a turn, a little bit more of a dramatic turn. Damn. Well, that was fast. We're going to keep on talking about this. Stop the timer. But for you, at that moment, what did you think Blindspotting meant?
What did I say? Blindspotting to me meant in that moment that when you see somebody, you judge them for who they are, exactly how they look. That's what I felt Blindspotting was. And you don't get to know somebody. You don't change that perspective until you get to know them. Not saying that's right, but I'm saying that's what the definition of Blindspotting. That's the definition I took away from the film of Blindspotting, was that when you see somebody, you judge them automatically, whether you mean to or not, and you don't really start to peel the onion and start to get to know somebody by peeling off all those layers, no matter how they look like, and that's when you really start to know somebody. So that's what Blindspotting was to me, was that you see somebody, you judge them, whether you mean to or not, and then you don't know them for who they are in a different light until you actually get to know them. So
in this instance, it would be Colin, who it's touched on a little bit, is that the first impression of Colin is that he's a thug with dreadlocks, and that's not who he is. Mm-hmm. There's actually moments in this film where they kind of pops up a little randomly, but they do like these raps. There would be scenes and all of a sudden they just start rapping. Yeah. And they'll start having rhymes. And it just seems like they just do it just kind of like they don't know what to talk about. Like the two characters like might get a little bored and they just start rapping. And they almost have like a dialogue between the characters with rhyme and rap. But it's not like it's just they're talking to each other and it's a stylized part of the film. They actually look like they're making song lyrics. Yeah. When this stuff happens.
There's a connection that they make between the two of them.
Yeah. And it's really well done. I really like that.
It is very well done.
There's another part, there was like a dream sequence. It was actually a nightmare that he has, where they do the rapping, great. Which was really cool.
It was really good.
So that part I really liked, and that's part that doesn't like sneak up on you. It really just punches you in the face when it happens.
Well, it kind of hits you in the sense of like the topics that they talk about in the movie and what they're projecting in the movie. Really kind of, that's the moment when it really hits you in the face and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Now for me, Blindspotting was that his blind spot was his best friend Miles, and Miles was bringing him down. but he couldn't realize what was bringing him down was actually his best friend, and he was blind to it. That's what I took Blindspotting as.
I don't think either one of our definitions, takeaways are wrong. I think that's the point of Blindspotting, is for you to take away multiple different things.
So, is there anything about this film that you disliked?
No.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, there's really nothing about this film that I disliked.
Yeah, I think it was very well written. Very well done visually, like you were saying. Even to me, I felt like it was pleasing. It was a good movie to see. It's a good movie to see.
Oh, it's a great movie. Well, anyway, any way you can go out and see this film, go see it. It's one of the best of the year. I was legitimately blown away, and I heard good reviews about this film going into it, saying that this is one of the best of the year. And usually with films like that, when I go into those movies that all the critics are touting as like the best film of the decade, I'm always usually let down. I usually never come out that impressed with those films. I'll say this is probably the first one since, again, La La Land, that I was actually legitimately blown away coming out of the screening. Yeah. All right. This one ran long. I can see we're already at like 20 minutes on the recording.
I know. This is our new name.
It's a really good movie.
I know, really good movie. But we go over a lot. Like, our new name's going to start being 10-ish minute takes. 10-ish.
Try to cut this one down. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. This was Blindspotting. It's an amazing film. I highly recommend going to see this. It's amazingly written, amazingly directed. It's got style, heart, drama, comedy for days.
For days and days.
For days and days. It's very good. It's a quick watch. It's not a long movie. It's an hour and a half. If you got a theater near you that's playing this, go see it. This movie needs to be seen. Stay tuned for more. We have Christopher Robin we're going to do right now, so that's next.
Robin.
Robin.
I think it's Christopher Robert.
No, Christopher Robin. That's next.